Welcome to Kansas Ag Report. I'm Ken Rogers. This week, we're going to focus on the visit by USDA Secretary Sonny Perdue. He'll talk Farm Bill and the need for a strong rural America. We also had the chance to talk with Kansas Congressman Dr. Roger Marshall from the Big First District. We'll have reports from Kansas Wheat and Kansas Farm Bureau, along with the weekly update from the Kansas Livestock Association and Paragon Ag Advisors. This is the Kansas Ag Report.
Closed captioning brought to you by
The Soybean Checkoff. Progress powered by Kansas farmers. KansasSoybeans.org.
Farm Bureau, a grassroots ag organization representing the state's farmers and ranchers since 1919. KFB.org. Kansas Wheat Commission, leaders in the adoption of profitable innovations for wheat. Online at kswheat.com. Kansas Livestock Association, supporting our members' business interests to meet consumers' demands. KLA.org.
Well, Sonny Perdue spent a couple of days in Kansas last week and held a couple of conversations with ag leaders around Manhattan. He touched on what he sees as a possible farm bill this year.
I'm hopeful that we will. I'm optimistic. The president has put his stamp on it, said I want a farm bill before the end of September, so our people will know, our farm constituency can know what's going on, how they can make plans and do that. I think Senator Roberts feels confident as well. It's an interesting dynamic in Congress, as you may imagine. The Farm Bill passed the Ag Committee on the House side on a partisan vote. That's unusual for a farm bill, but had to do with the work requirements there that I think most people support. Senator Roberts on the Senate side, having to get 60 votes, has a different kind of challenge in trying to draw at least 10, maybe 12 Democratic votes to pass the farm bill there. So the dynamic gets a little different on both sides, and both of them do a good job. But I've got a lot of confidence in Chairman Roberts and Chairman Mike Conaway of the House side. I believe we'll get a farm bill, but the certainty, crop insurance is the mainstay of risk management, is very, very important, and we hope that and believe that will be maintained and recognized as a good risk management tool that's worked well since the 14 Farm Bill. I believe that what you'll see is some evolutionary changes, not major revolutionary changes, which that's probably good from a farmer's perspective of trying to deal with weather and hail and everything else, and you don't need to deal with a roller coaster farm bill as well. So I'm optimistic.
What would be some things you'd like to see in that farm bill?
Well, again, I think crop insurance would be one of those, as maintaining crop insurance at its level of risk management. I think it's a good deal for the American taxpayer. I'm one of these people that believe that our citizens in the United States enjoy some of the healthiest, most nutritious, most affordable, and the best food in the world. It allows us to spend a significant less percentage of our disposable income in the U.S. than any other developed country. That means we can go do other things with it. I used to refer to I still refer to kind of what I call a Chinese proverb. I don't know where it is or not, but it goes like this. When man has not enough to eat, he has one problem. When he has enough to eat, he has many problems. And we've created many problems in our society today because the American farmer, rancher has produced an abundant, bountiful supply of healthy food. We've become so complacent in there, we just think it grows in Kroger or Publix or grocery stores. And so it's important to have crop insurance there. We need to expand that into some of the specialty crops. And the other issue that probably can't be dealt with in the farm bill, but is a real issue in farm land, and that's the legal workforce. We've got a real situation with a lack of farm workers today. Our farmer population, no offense everybody, but you're getting older, and is aging, and we've got a real dearth of farm workers.
We'll have more with Secretary Sonny Perdue in just a moment. Stay with us.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Livestock Association, supporting our members' business interests to meet consumers' demands. KLA.org. Oldie Seed Farms, carrying soil-specific seed. Find them on the web at oldieseed.com. That's OHLDE seed.com. Grass and Grain, online or in the mail, keeping Kansas farmers informed for over 60 years. grassandgrain.com. Kansas Wheat Commission, leaders in the adoption of profitable innovations for wheat. Online at kswheat.com.
Many seed companies claim to offer the latest genetics, but how many have tested those genetics in soils just like yours? The Oldie Seed Know to Grow research program has fully tested the latest seed genetics in soils that are right in your neighborhood. The Oldie Seed Know to Grow program can recommend the best performing hybrids from technologies like Enlist, Extend, and Liberty Link that will optimize the yield and profit of every acre on your farm. Contact Oldie Seed today.
All over the country, more and more communities are making the change to biodiesel made from U.S. soybean oil, and the decision continues improving the health and welfare for millions of Americans while adding billions to our national economy.
What does a brighter, more sustainable future look like in our cities and towns, and how do we get there? When New York needed an alternative fuel source to reduce carbon emissions, the city found what it needed in biodiesel made from U.S. soybean oil.
What if U.S. soybean oil were an industry sensation? If end users started asking for it by name? That future is here, the time is now. To meet customer demands, the Soybean Checkoff is investing in varieties that produce oil with increased functionality. A message from the Kansas Soybean Commission, the Soybean Checkoff. Progress powered by Kansas farmers.
One of the issues that has many concerned is the future of rural America and how it can remain strong for generations to come. Once again, Secretary Perdue.
Obviously, in the private sector, I felt like I had to beat the market and then beat the government many times over the regulations that were imposed. And I think farmers have just gotten so oppressed about that. And the president really, in executive order, talked about for every regulation we have to put in, you have to take 2 off. Now, I didn't quite understand how important regulations were when I got there, but Senator Roberts and Congressman Marshall passed a law, and then they challenge or charge the agencies with writing all the details of how that law is to be implemented. And these regulations are about like passing another bill. It takes sometimes 12 to 18 to 24 months to get a regulation in place that puts out the details of how these laws are to be done. And sadly, it takes almost that long to get them undone. So there were things that were put out there at the end of the last administration, actually some of them on the last day, that we call timeout. Let's just wait and look at that. Let's get some different opinion here. And we've done that, and we found that that's the third thing that most people thank you. That most people really have a problem with is a regulation, and President Trump, government-wide, brags about the fact that it's not just 2 for 1; it's 22 for 1. So that's what I think that's what the people that voted for him want to have happen. Well, USDA has a major part of rural development. As a missionary called Rural Development, and has our utility services dealing with water, wastewater, and it has a community facilities there where healthcare facilities and other things. But it also has the part of the rural utility services has to do with the broadband. Congress fortunately gave us $600 million to start some pilot projects in underserved areas, and that we mean underserved about where it's needed. We can't expect really young people to stay on the farms. They go visit their cousins in Kansas City and Topeka, and they get this, 25 to 50 megs up and down, that kind of thing, playing Fortnite. You kids don't play Fortnite, do you? And all that kind of stuff, and expect them to come. I see some mamas nodding their head, too. Expect them to come back home and be disconnected from the commercial interstate highway of the 21st century. It's good for telemedicine. It's good for distance learning. It's good for precision agriculture. It's good for rural e-commerce, where you get on the website and sell whatever you grow on the web. So it is a vital component. If we could do in 1934 what we did with the telephone, 1936 what we did with rural electrification, 1956 what we did with interstate highway system, it's time to get rural broadband all across this country and connect us in the 21st century.
We'll have Congressman Roger Marshall when we come back on the Kansas Ag Report.
This segment brought to you by Farm Bureau, a grassroots ag organization representing the state's farmers and ranchers since 1919. KFB.org. Oldie Seed Farms, carrying soil-specific seed. Find them on the web at oldieseed.com. That's OHLDE seed.com. Grass and Grain, online or in the mail, keeping Kansas farmers informed for over 60 years. Grassandgrain.com. Kansas Wheat Commission, leaders in the adoption of profitable innovations for wheat. Online at kswheat.com.
Welcome back. First District Congressman Dr. Roger Marshall was in attendance at the gathering with Secretary Perdue. We asked him what are the next step in the House version of passing a farm bill. Well, First District Kansas Congressman Roger Marshall joins us back in the district. First off, let's talk about the farm bill that I guess first round didn't quite make it.
Well, we lost a little bit of a battle there, but we're going to win the war here, Ken. Had a hiccup there, but certainly I see a path to victory still. I still think by June 22nd we have a farm bill through the House, and it sounds like Senator Roberts may even have one through the Senate by then as well. So we want to work on immigration, which I think that's a win for Kansas agriculture as well. So looking forward to maybe getting us some agricultural guest worker visas done, and then go back and pick up the farm bill.
Do you think that immigration bill, Goodlet's immigration bill, has a good chance of passage?
I don't know a good chance. I think we may have to improve it somehow, make some tweaks to it. But a year ago I was told we'll never consider an immigration bill, and here we have one ready to go to the House floor. So we'll keep working at it. I think the over/under is less than 50-50, but where there's a will, there's a way.
Ag Secretary Perdue was in Kansas. Talk about maybe some of your takeaways of the Secretary being here.
Well, I think first of all, he constantly talked to me about how wonderful he felt here and how welcome he was by all the Kansans here. Had a great tour of NBAF. The USDA will be probably running NBAF here in a couple of years, so he had a great reception there at NBAF. He likes what he's seeing there as well. And I think he just wanted to hear from the people themselves, the farmers themselves, what's working, what's not working. When the first time I met him, he talked about a customer-focused USDA. And I don't know if I have a great feel for what it was like before, but now as a congressman, it seems like the complaints do come to us if there's concerns, and there's less and less complaints coming from our producers. Sounds like our FSA officers and NRCS officers are working well with the Secretary.
One of the things in the Farm Bill that cattle people are very concerned about is that vaccine bank. It's still in there. If the House passes it, have you talked to any senators that might make it in the final version?
I think they're pretty optimistic that it'll be in there as well. So we're glad we got it through the House side. And again, that vaccine, that's something that could benefit NBAF. Some of the research in the future for those type of viruses would be done right here in Manhattan, Kansas.
One of the things he talked about was the Secretary did and others is where we are with rural broadband. And the FCC has come out and said, Kansas, you're okay. Obviously, any of us that live in rural Kansas know there's some concern. Do you think something will work in the Farm Bill or another bill to make sure that our underserved areas, we will have high-speed broadband to level the playing field, especially in rural, those underserved parts of the state?
I think number one is we've allocated some significant monies already for rural broadband, and there'll be more monies we're allocating in the Farm Bill. I think that at some point we have to hold accountable the people who are responsible. So let's hold the FCC accountable here and tell them to go back and fix the map. We know the map is a disaster right now, that they don't have it right. So we're going to continue to put pressure on the FCC.
Up next, updates from Kansas Wheat and Kansas Farm Bureau. A little later, we'll hear from the Kansas Livestock Association and Paragon Ag Advisors. Thank you for watching the Kansas Ag Report.
Spring is sprung, and Premier Farm and Home has what you need to keep your yard crabgrass free throughout the season. With a complete line of pre-emergence, you can stop crabgrass before it starts. Premier Farm and Home, 900 Southwest University Boulevard, or find them on the web at heycow.com.
Storms ripped through western Kansas from Wallace County to Ness County, from 10 to 15 miles wide on May 14th. Wind gusts up to 80 miles per hour and hail from pea-sized to baseball-sized damaged personal property. Wheat fields in the area weren't spared either. In Scott County, Glenda and Rich Randall estimate they lost about 300 acres of wheat near their home. Marble-sized hail paired with 70-mile-per-hour winds tore through their irrigated wheat field. The wheat was just beginning to head out, but after the storm, it appeared to be mowed off by a dull blade. Rich estimated the field would have made 40 bushels per acre, but now was a total loss. A few miles east, Mark Ramsey surveyed his fields near Manning, Kansas. From the road, the field still looked somewhat lush, but upon closer inspection, heads were bent over and stalks were broken in half. To the west, David and Lisa Shim farm near Sharon Springs, Kansas, in Wallace County. The storm directly hit their house and fields nearby, which appear to be a total loss. The pre-hail yield estimate for the 325-acre field was 42 bushels per acre. Lisa estimates that over half of their wheat was destroyed. This devastation follows a hard year. Many areas of the state have received less than an inch of rain, up to only a couple inches since early October. Abandonment of acres has been more common, and only 7.8 million acres were planted last fall.
Agricultural safety and health issues have been a priority for Kansas Farm Bureau since 1948. An important part of my job as Farm Safety Manager is to identify dangerous safety and health trends. One way I accomplish this is by keeping track of farm fatalities in Kansas. As of mid-May, there have already been 3 farm fatalities this year. Last year, there were 10 fatal incidents on Kansas farms. Those are all people who expected to go home after a hard day at work. They are not just statistics, they are our family, our friends, and valued members of our communities. According to the Agricultural Safety and Health Council of America, tractors are the leading cause of adult fatalities on the farm, with about 105 incidents across the U.S. each year. While most American workers retire at age 65 or before, farmers work well into their 70s and 80s, which places them at far greater risk for incidents to happen. Farm children are also at risk because they usually live at the work site. The number of agriculture-related injuries amongst youth ages 10 to 19 is increasing. Recent studies show 33 children are injured in an agriculture-related incident every day, and every 3 days a child dies in an ag-related incident. Children doing work that doesn't match their developmental level is associated with an increased risk, so it's extremely important for parents to consider their children's mental and physical maturity before giving them age-appropriate tasks. Over the years, I've noticed how common it is for survivors to become passionately involved in safety education. I would like to challenge you to become a safety advocate now to help reduce the odds of you or a loved one being hurt on the farm. Thanks for all you do.
What if U.S. soybean oil were an industry sensation? If end users started asking for it by name? That future is here. The time is now. To meet customer demands, the Soybean Checkoff is investing in varieties that produce oil with increased functionality. A message from the Kansas Soybean Commission, the Soybean Checkoff. Progress powered by Kansas farmers.
The producer-funded Kansas Wheat Innovation Center was built to get improved varieties into the hands of farmers faster. Kansas Wheat, farmers advancing their future through wheat genetics research.
Kansas Farm Bureau, the voice of agriculture, represents grassroots agriculture. The state's largest and most powerful farm organization stands up for its members through leadership development, agriculture education, legal defense, environmental advocacy, farm safety, and risk management. Members also enjoy money-saving benefits. To join our organization today or to learn more, go to www.kfb.org or find us on Facebook and Twitter.
What does a brighter, more sustainable future look like in our cities and towns, and how do we get there? When New York needed an alternative fuel source to reduce carbon emissions, the city found what it needed in biodiesel made from U.S. soybean oil.
Many seed companies claim to offer the latest genetics, but how many have tested those genetics in soils just like yours? The Oldie Seed Know to Grow research program has fully tested the latest seed genetics in soils that are right in your neighborhood. The Oldie Seed Know to Grow program can recommend the best performing hybrids from technologies like Enlist, Extend, and Liberty Link that will optimize the yield and profit of every acre on your farm. Contact Oldie Seed today.
U.S. Senators Pat Roberts, Jerry Moran, and 9 others recently introduced a bill that would reform the hours of service transportation rules to ensure animal welfare. The Transporting Livestock Across America Safely Act would provide more drive time for livestock haulers, as well as granting the flexibility for drivers to rest at any point during the trip without it counting against hours of service time. Language in the bill also would allow for another 150 air mile exemption on the back end of a livestock haul to account for unloading time. As it currently stands, livestock haulers are scheduled to begin using electronic logging devices to track driving times and distances October 1st. Drivers will be required to turn on ELDs after crossing out of the 150 air mile radius from the loading point, after which they can only drive 11 hours before taking a mandatory 10-hour break. This could leave livestock standing on trucks for hours through a variety of extreme weather conditions. Given the very long distances between some cow-calf operations, feedlots, and processing facilities, and the need for animals to be humanely handled, the proposed legislation strikes a balance that benefits everyone involved. The National Cattlemen's Beef Association is encouraging Congress to pass the bill before the ELD mandate goes into effect October 1st.
Good morning. I'm Cody Wintersheet with Paragon Ag Advisors. Volatility season is back and seems to be alive and well in the ag markets here recently. It seems like it's going to be sticking around for a while as well, especially considering all of the back and forth rhetoric regarding the trade concerns with China and of course the recent swirling concerns again with NAFTA. It seems like every day there's a different take or angle being thrown around that is affecting the markets regarding these various issues. I'm certainly not downplaying the significance of these trade concerns by any means. However, I do think it's prudent to not get too caught up in all of the hoopla. Taking a step back and looking at the big picture of what affects the markets year in and year out, like weather, supply, and demand, etc., as well as utilizing the historical and seasonal time frames of the year to get some good marketing accomplished. Volatility certainly brings about more opportunities, but can also bring those opportunities to disappear very quickly as well. A great example of that is here recently in the corn market. It took roughly 2.5 months for the new crop corn to rally from $4 to its most recent high of $4.29, and a mere week to give it all back. The old saying, taking the escalator up and the elevator down, comes to mind. The good news at the moment is it's still just early June, and we have some very critical weather to navigate through over the next few weeks that will most certainly affect the markets. So producers need to be on their toes here over the coming few weeks to take advantage of any more good marketing opportunities that present themselves. Have a great day.
Well, that's our show this week. Next week, we're planning on discussing more about the wheat crop and the hay trade. Be social with us online at KansasAgReport.net and on Facebook and Twitter. Thanks for watching the Kansas Ag Report. I'm Ken Rogers. We'll see you next week. Agriculture information on your computer or mobile device, news and views on grains, livestock, policy, and opinions from newsmakers can be found by liking AgView on Facebook, and on Twitter, follow AgView News, a reliable and relevant source, agview.net.
Closed captioning brought to you by
The Soybean Checkoff. Progress powered by Kansas farmers. KansasSoybeans.org.
Farm Bureau, a grassroots ag organization representing the state's farmers and ranchers since 1919. KFB.org. Kansas Wheat Commission, leaders in the adoption of profitable innovations for wheat. Online at kswheat.com. Kansas Livestock Association, supporting our members' business interests to meet consumers' demands. KLA.org.
Spring is sprung, and Premier Farm and Home has what you need to keep your yard crabgrass free throughout the season. With a complete line of pre-emergents, you can stop crabgrass before it starts. Premier Farm and Home, 900 Southwest University Boulevard, or find them on the web at heycow.com.
What if U.S. soybean oil were an industry sensation? If end users started asking for it by name? That future is here. The time is now. To meet customer demands, the Soybean Checkoff is investing in varieties that produce oil with increased functionality. A message from the Kansas Soybean Commission, the Soybean Checkoff. Progress powered by Kansas farmers.
Kansas Farm Bureau, the voice of agriculture, represents grassroots agriculture. The state's largest and most powerful farm organization stands up for its members through leadership development, agriculture education, legal defense, environmental advocacy, farm safety, and risk management. Members also enjoy money-saving benefits. To join our organization today or to learn more, go to www.kfb.org or find us on Facebook and Twitter.
The producer-funded Kansas Wheat Innovation Center was built to get improved varieties into the hands of farmers faster. Kansas Wheat, farmers advancing their future through wheat genetics research.